So, yeah. I was supposed to get to recording this video a while ago, but I never got to it because, you know, I didn't have a mic. And I didn't want to use my phone mic because it doesn't sound very good. Hopefully in the future I'll be able to do more voice acting stuff that doesn't sound like dog shit, because I have a proper mic now. Anyways, enough of the chit-chat and the dilly-dallying, and let's get right into it. About like a gazillion years ago, the universe exploded and created the planets we now have. Hooray. You may be thinking, oh, Mowgli, isn't that just the Big Bang? And you'd be correct, it is the Big Bang. The Big Bang is canon to my lore because I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't know what else to do because the implementation, I don't know if that's a word, the implementation of things exploding and creating something else or turning inside out is a reoccurring theme which we'll get to in a second. Anyway, the universe expands and creates the stars, the planets, the gods.
Friend, it's tough to be a god, but if you get the people's nod, count your blessings, yeah, keep them sweet. That's our advice. It's great advice.
Haha, and you may be thinking, oh my gosh, religion? Ugh, I hate that stuff. And then I have to ask you, why are you my friend? Anyway, so yeah, universe expands, creates a Big Bang, the gods, the planets, whatever. And, you know, everyone is happy, living in harmony. Everyone's watching over humanity as it evolves and changes and makes new things. And everyone's just having a grand old time. A grand gay old time. Until, someone gets mad that they're not in charge of everything. And people start having disputes over how humans should be guided, what morals they should be given. Should we give Greg this rock and tell him to go hit Bonk? Just so many pressing matters. So obviously they start fighting over it, and eventually one thing links to another, and people are getting stabbed. And now there's a war among the gods, and because there's a war among the gods, there's a war among the people. Humans are at war too. That's not any good. Oh no. So yeah, humans are at war, and because of the absolute catastrophe that it was of all the gods fighting and killing each other, there are now only 6 gods left. This is important. Don't worry. Keep this in mind. These 6 gods are important. Keep that in mind. And now the wars have disputed. The gods create their own nations, and the people separate into their different countries and serve the gods ruling over those countries, and they're happy. Hooray. An aftermath that came from the war is the cry of the fallen deities, which is basically just when a god dies, because they are made of stardust, the stardust that made them up, glitter bombs everywhere, and it's basically raining glitter and shimmer for the next couple of months. So, thus being named the Glimmery Period, or the golden showers, or whatever. Now, I also want to note that not all gods are completely made of stardust, or stardust that has been granted from the stars themselves, or the universe itself. Sometimes things happen, and a god ends up sacrificing some of their stardust for another being to exist. They'll get it back. It's not like a self-sacrificial Sky Children of Light ripping the wings out of your body to give to the statue children in Eden. It's not like that. Like, they'll get it back. Like, if they stay around the stars long enough, they'll get their dust back. They'll be fine. That was a tangent. Anyway, so yeah. The gods try their best to keep their people at peace, keep them all in their own nations, just without any fighting, because they just can't seem to get along. The Mafia starts. The Mafia in this universe does not yet have a name, but it will need its own video, because there's just so much stuff that they have done that I cannot just cover in one, like, this, they need their own separate video. I cannot just clump all of the lore together, because that's just getting into my OCs a little too much. So we'll get to that. But as of right now, Mafia. That's no good. Anyway, so, oh no, another human war. That's not good. Why are they fighting? Resources. In the olden early days, human beings had something called a trading system, and people were running out of things to trade. So naturally, they do what humans do best, and they fight and kill each other over the resources that are rather scarce. And that's not good. So naturally, the gods are like, hey, chill out, calm down. And they do, because, oh, I just hit my mic. That's not good. And naturally, they do calm down. Everything's all well and dandy, and everyone's happy again. And absolutely nothing wrong is happening. Everyone is happy. Everyone is great.
Dude, Akinerva just ran off!
What? So yeah. Akinerva ran off? That's not any good. Who's Akinerva, I heard you asking? Well, let's get right into that. As I said before, there are 6 remaining gods after the war that occurred amongst the thousands of gods that are now dead. So there is Akinerva, the ruler of Voyas, god of creativity, who you may know as Funky. There is the Lady in Red, or Italath, ruler of Caneland, goddess of wrath. There is this other guy. We'll get into him in a second. It's pretty important as to why Akinerva ran off. Mostly, there's Vakansi, or Void. You probably know who that is if you know who I am. Goddess of Justice, ruler of Librith. There is Astros, god of wisdom, and he is the youngest of the gods, the only one taking an appearance of a boy no older than 13. Ruler of Jarrath. There's Lucius Akuma, god of the sea. He's a dragon! Isn't that neat? He is the ruler of Thalora, which is basically just an island. Because, you know, ocean. Together, these gods rule over their nations with a mighty iron fist, keeping them safe, and also doing their own thing. Hand in unlovable hand.
I hope you die. I hope we both die.
That is until Akinerva ran off. Let's get into that. Why did they... Oh, shit. My mic just fell over. That's not any good. And the top $100 question asked on today's showing of Lore with Mowgli. Everyone's asking, why did they run off? Honestly, they were bored. And they were trying not to die. That nameless guy from before has a huge grudge against Akinerva because Akinerva is pretty much his creator, and he resents them for it. Ah, I hear the questions being asked already. Well, let's get a listen. Yeah. What? Of course mayonnaise isn't an instrument. You wacky goose, you. For those of you worried, no, Akinerva did not abandon their people. They would never do such a thing. If anything, out of all the gods, they visit their people the most. They have the most compassion for the people, and they do their best to live by their side and make their conditions as comfortable as possible. Because people of all origins, and all races, and all different types and places. Races as in, like, D&D races, not skin color. We don't have that kind of racism here. Only the fantasy kind, because it's funny. Anyway, the pressing question of the hour is, who's this mystery guy? Why did you avoid talking about him? Why does he need his own section of the video? Why is he so important to Funky's lore? Nowhere. I have been calling him Nowhere. He has no name, no purpose, no rhyme or reason for what he does, other than the pure hatred he feels for the God who created him, or some speculate it's just because it's in his nature to destroy things, to cause chaos. But he is nowhere, and he is everywhere, and he is nothing and he is everything. He is in you, he is in me. He is in our nature. He rules over the midgrounds, a ruin of a village that once was. No one lives there. No one can thrive there. Only thing that lives there now are the distant whispers of those that have fallen, and the gallows. Those brave enough to venture into it don't come out the same. I like that guy. He's silly. He used to be my old mascot back when I went by Awkward Apple, and I didn't really know what to do with him, but I thought it'd be cool if I made him a villain. So yeah, that's who Nowhere is. And you know how I said Akanerva ran off? So that ended up being a huge problem for everyone in Voyous. So naturally, people are kind of freaked out that their god is missing, and they're getting a little stir-crazy, getting a little worked up, and they start stabbing people, saying that they can't trust anyone because their god might have kidnapped theirs. And yeah, eternal conflict, everyone's at war again. Oh no. The gods are tired of this, because this is just like another 100 years of fighting that we just didn't need. Everything was great until this motherfucker got up and left. And yeah. Oh no. War. Until they just come back out of nowhere. And isn't that funny? Come back out of nowhere. And it was Nowhere's fault that they went missing anyway. Oh yeah! So, Akanerva ran off because Nowhere threatened them, and they're like, you know what, if I don't leave, I'm gonna get hurt, and maybe we'll be without a god. But if I leave, maybe we're gonna get hurt and be without a god. So there was really no win-win. There was no winning. It was a lose-lose situation, not a win-win one. And yeah, eventually they come back. Hooray. Everyone's back. Happy again. There's harmony and no more fighting and disputes, but there is still a bit of tension because Nowhere is off doing shady shit and plotting and scheming. That they're plotting and scheming things that they cannot share because the haters will try to sabotage them. Which is probably fine. It's probably okay. It probably doesn't matter. But yeah, that's the general lore. Time to get into each individual lore of the places, the gods, and I'm not done talking yet. I'm so tired. As of right now, the only two characters that have written lore that is clear, concise, and makes perfect sense to me at the current moment. Well, not two, there's three, but Nowhere doesn't really have lore as of right now. It's just Funky sneezed, made him, he doesn't have a purpose, he gets mad, he runs off, and starts plotting his revenge. Because he's salty. And that's kind of it. So, let's just get into Void first, because I feel as if that would take the longest to explain, because it's actually written, and not just me being like, and then they died! XD lol! No, it's actually written, and it's old, but I will read it. I don't remember when I wrote this. It was a while ago, and I just edited it because the grammar was bad, so I wouldn't be able to tell you when it was last written, because I don't remember. But assuming it was written in 2023, it was not very good, but we're gonna read it as it is, because, like old ancient scripture says, thou shalt not add or take away from the Bible. And this isn't a Bible, but, I did just take away from it by editing a grammatical error, but you get it. Shut up. As a young girl, she was very ill, and because of this, she was pale and sickly. an odd thing for a person of her complexion. She thought herself to be ugly, a sight that no human should be burdened with seeing. One night, she sat at the windowsill of her hospital room, leaving her bed despite being ordered not to, and wished on a star, wishing for good health and all the beauty that the world could muster. She was gifted her beauty and recovery, but at what cost? The star that she wished on was never truly a star, but rather an angel, a rather odd one at that. He had watched over her for years, letting her reach adulthood before finally confronting her. He offered her happiness, because although she had found her beauty, she had not found joy. "Happiness," quoth the angel, "in exchange for your humanity." His voice was as gentle as a wave crashing against a rock. He watched her mull on his words with a keen fascination of human life. She was reluctant in her acceptance of the offer. Would I truly no longer be human? Would I also lose who I am? Should you lose yourself in this divine journey, you will find that you will rediscover yourself just as quickly, he said. She considered the thought of leaving her parents behind, but she had thought that even if she stopped being human and outlived them, seeing her happy would be all they could wish for. That is what they told her, at least. She had every right to believe them. "All right, I'll do as you wish," she said. The angel smiled softly, reached out to caress her soft skin, and tore her face from her body. But his intent did not feel malicious. She did not feel pain, only confusion. It felt like she was drowning and had small needles on where her face should be. When she awoke, she had no recollection of her human life. Only her blurred memories of her parents and illness remained. Where her face would have been, only the void remained, a black hole that led to the destruction of the universe itself. Or, well, something like that. She didn't really know where her face led. It was mostly vast emptiness. Perhaps a vacuum of space? She didn't know. That doesn't matter. The stars gifted her the power to rule over and judge all things that walked the earth and all divine creatures that pranced in the heavens. Although a daunting task, the angel was true to his promise. She was happy. And soon she became known as the Judge, determining where all creatures must go when they die, or if a god should be taken out of the custody of a people. Vacancy was finally happy, and though she could not remember her face or the life she lived before, she remembered the angel's offer, and despite everything, she was grateful. Isn't that neat? Now that does beg the question, what does make a god in this universe? Immortality and limitless power? I don't know. I never really had a clear and concise notion of what I wanted to be allowed and not allowed. Basically, not just anybody can be a god, it has to be gifted to you. So I guess, what makes a god? Whatever the stars do to your body after you die. I don't know. But yeah, that was Void's lore. Like I said, not very good. I really hope my storytelling did it justice. I feel like it didn't. But yeah. That's the judge of the universe, you guys. How do you feel? I can't hear you, so why'd you answer that? Anyway, let's get into Funky's lore, which is not much. Really, not much at all. But let's go. How telling is it that the god of creativity made their form a clown? If you were to ask any of the other gods what they thought of Funky, they'd tell you that he is odd. What they mean by that exactly is a mystery. Funky had a hand in creating many of the earth and heaven's creatures, even creating another god by mistake, which no one really knows how he managed to do. He spends his time in the void of space alongside the other gods that he is acquainted with. Unlike most gods, Funky visits their people the most. The way Funky was born is a bit unorthodox for a god. Instead of being made by the embodiment of his people's will, or the strength of his concept, or the dust of the stars alone, no, he was a black hole that was so bored he just turned himself inside out. His powers were unstable and caused many issues for his elder siblings, but with their compassion for one another and an extreme amount of patience, Funky was guided towards the right path and was gifted his status as a god at a very young age. He would go on to create Nowhere, the god of destruction, which was an accident. We still don't know how he managed to do that. And Maisie, the embodiment of joy. His elder siblings swell with pride at his progress. In most folklore, Funky is referred to with both feminine and masculine pronouns. No one really knows what their gender is, but no one would truly think to restrict a god to a gender binary unless they were stupid. It's no real secret to anyone that she just does as she pleases. And that's Funky's lore. Now, I would get into what exactly all the places and the kingdoms and the nations and the lores and the cultures and the holidays, I get into all that, but I've been in my room for an hour recording, and I'm so tired. So, that's gonna conclude today's video. We'll get into the rest of the important stuff after this. I might actually get into the scenery of all the places last, because I'm so tired. But those are the only two gods that have written lore, and not just summary lore. And yeah, that is most of the world building I have done. I hope you enjoyed that. I definitely did not enjoy recording this. I'm so tired. I'm gonna take a nap now. Have a good day. Peace be with you. Amen.